When thinking about FPV goggles, the first thing that come to mind are probably these, the FatShark. Small, light, compact, and moderate performance. Well, as you can see here, not all goggles are FatSharks. I'm Alex Grieve, better known as IB Crazy, and in this video, I'm going to review 4 types of goggles known as Headboxes. We have the FXT Marvel Vision, the HeadPlay HDs, the Quanum V2s, and the Walkera Goggle4s. Now, the concept of each of these goggles is the same, but they're all very different. The way they work is a common LCD screen with a lens. This is typically called a Fresnel lens, and changing this lens will change the field of view or how big the screen seems on your face. Now, the FatSharks, yeah, they work on the same principle. The difference is they have one of these modules all built into one for each eye. Now, I know what you're thinking, that the Headbox can never be as good as the FatSharks. Well, I tend to disagree. I used to fly with the FatSharks, and after flying with Headboxes, I gotta say, I'm a Headbox guy. I love the feel of the Headbox. Of course, I don't care for the size, but I do like the view. So what are the differences between the Headboxes? Well, I have these ranked from the ones I thought were the best to the ones I thought were the worst. So right out with what I thought were the best. These are the FXT Marvel Vision. These are the smallest Headboxes out here, which isn't the only reason I felt they were the best. They are incredibly easy to modify. By taking out the 2 screws on the side, it opens up the box and allows you to put in multiple lenses to change the feel. Now, I put both lenses in my box to get the most immersive feel possible because that's how I like it. However, most people will find that one lens is the best setup for them. The other nice thing is the screen comes out really easily and has an inbuilt receiver. This receiver in this little screen is probably the best receiver I have ever used. It is absolutely incredible for what it is. However, my favorite of these are the HeadPlays. Now, granted, they are the biggest and the most expensive of the 4 goggles. However, the immersive feel is amazing. They have the highest resolution screen and the most saturated, beautiful colors you'll get out of a set of goggles. On the other hand, they have some caveats. Of all of these probably have the worst receiver in them. The inbuilt 5.8 gigahertz receiver in this is absolute garbage. So if you're going to run 5.8 gigahertz, use an external receiver and wire it in. The other thing I don't care for is this connector. It goes over your head and it seems to work quite well, but the truth is it's probably better if it came out the bottom. And HeadPlay did fix the problem where they were coming loose and breaking the wires, so at least that's not a problem anymore. But overall, they're still my favorite because I love the image quality. You just cannot beat these. However, we cannot forget about the Quanum goggles. These are the Quanum V2s. These are the cheapest goggles on the list here, and they're the only ones that don't come with an inbuilt receiver. But for the price of just $60, you can't beat it. These are very, very simple, and the great thing is they offer an adjustable lens. On the side here, you can move your lens forward or backward to adjust your field of view. They also fit very well over corrective lenses. Now, the only thing I really didn't care for them was the fact that I had to add a lot of padding around the outside here to shut out all of the light. And even then, I can't filter out all of the sunlight. The other thing is because they're cheap, well, the LCD is pretty cheap and it's a little bit grainy. Also, the greens and blues tend to stand out more than your red colors, so the colors are a bit washed out. But for $60, you really can't beat it, and it's a great starter set. There is, however, one major caveat to these, and that is that they do not work with all receivers. I have found it's hit or miss whether a receiver will work with the Quanum goggles. And sometimes your video will go out for no apparent reason because there's an impedance mismatch between the screen and the receiver you're using. Therefore, if using these goggles, use the Quanum 40-channel receiver. It's actually a pretty good receiver, fairly inexpensive, and that way you know it's compatible with your goggles. Now for the ones I like the least, the Walkera Goggle4s. Walkera does a bunch of amazing things with helicopters, but when it comes to FPV, they really missed the mark with these. Though the size is pretty nice, these are heavy, and they don't offer a whole lot of padding. I find that when I put these on my face, they fit reasonably well here, but they let a lot of sunlight in through these big gaping holes, so I'll have to add padding. Another thing is, most pilots like to tip their goggles up like this. When you do, the goggles have a hard plastic right here that just digs into my head, and I just hate that. I can't hold them up there for more than 30 seconds without them really being an annoyance. Another thing about these is that the inbuilt receiver is absolutely appalling. Granted, it's a diversity, but diversity doesn't mean anything when your receiver is garbage in the first place. The last thing is that the inbuilt battery here doesn't last very long. You get maybe 45 minutes of flight time on it, and that's really not very much. And it's kind of difficult to figure out a way to hook up an external battery. However, it's not all bad. The quality of the screen is actually exceptional, and so is the ability to adjust the contrast and hue and everything. In fact, the LCD screen inside here is probably the second best, but I gotta be honest, the FXT gives a very, very close run. So overall, very different goggles. And the truth is you will never know if you're a Headbox person or a goggles person until you've pulled them down and tried them both out side by side. However, if you really don't know which is best for you, the Headbox is the safe bet. However, nothing beats the compactness of a set of FatSharks. I'm Ivy Crazy, and keep 'em flying.